Great. A wonderful Tuesday, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Had to make sure I actually get unmuted and have a proper mic on. Looking forward to today's Twitter space. If this is the first time you're joining, somehow my Twitter got disconnected. No, I'm still here. If this is the first time you are joining, then let me quickly give you a rundown before we actually go into the topic. We normally do this on a Tuesday afternoon here in Singapore. So wherever you're listening in, we discuss current markets. We discuss obviously what's happening in the company. Every once in a while, we discuss stuff that is not crypto, finance, or something related. Sometimes it's entrepreneurial. Sometimes it's mindset, whatever fits. We have team members who tune in. Normally, it's always me and Fabio, who is leading all of our community and social media. And yeah, we go a bit back and forth, discuss a few ideas. Obviously, nothing of that, what we're discussing here, is financial advice. It's really just ideas, brain dumps, brainstorming, and yeah, the daily goody craziness that we normally always have. You cannot unmute yourself here, so you cannot request to, I mean, you can request to speak, but we don't unmute you. You can send questions either directly at me or at Cake DeFi, and then that way we pick them up and we answer those. So that's kind of a bit of the rundown. With all the housekeeping aside, let's dive in. Fabio, how has the markets been? I mean, we've really seen a bit of a sideways movement over the last 7 days. Sentiment has been shifting a bit, yeah, to the negative side, which surprises me because markets haven't really dipped. Yes, we have a slight red monthly candle, but nothing to really worry about. Some people calling even a bear market starting. I don't really understand that. What's the sentiment? Where do you see a bit of the change in sentiment, a bit of the shift in all that? You posted on Twitter, I think today, or I can't remember if it was today or yesterday, where you said, get ready for an amazing week ahead. Yeah, I would love to hear a bit of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm just waiting for everybody to post that meme with this figure with a stick in its hand and poking Bitcoin and come on, please do something. There is not a lot happening. Like it's sideways, a little bit downwards action in the market. Not a real change in sentiment, I guess. Everybody's just waiting, still kind of bullish. Like especially if you follow the big influencers, they are still posting the six-figure charts, and that we kind of follow along with the last cycles. So I guess there wasn't a big change in sentiment. For me personally, I have a very, very good feeling about this week. It doesn't really matter if the price is going up or down. But for me, it's always when we are at these prices, I'm still dollar cost averaging. So we at Cake, most of us, we get our salary in Bitcoin. So meaning I'm only going to sell the important chunk to pay my monthly costs, and everything else I leave in there. So, and I guess Friday is salary day. So for me, it doesn't really matter if the markets go up or down. Maybe I even prefer down.
You actually want them, yeah. You want the market down, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Sorry, didn't want to interrupt you.
No worries. But I guess we touched on that, I think 2 weeks back or 3 weeks back. I can't remember, but definitely time's on our side. So I don't have any hurry or any stress for us to go up instantaneously. For me, I'm perfectly fine with taking our time, and yeah, I guess market-wise, price-wise, there's not really a lot to share. Like we are in these 55 to 60 range since weeks, and even if you take a bigger step back and you look at the whole year of 2021, it's actually kind of uneventful. A lot of people think 2021 was a very bullish year, but in crypto terms, we actually spent 95% of the time between 30,000 and 60,000 and went up and down and a little bit in between. And a 2x in crypto is actually not big volatility. And I think we started the year at 30,000 or something, and we're at slightly below 60. So we practically had an up and down year. Yeah.
Did you see, I can't remember who posted this. Some influencer posted that basically if you would mirror 2017 and 2021, actually it's just a 10x difference. And so I don't know if you saw that kind of idea, and then also if that is maybe where the floor model from Plan B is coming from. I don't know if you have if you saw that on social media heavily discussed.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't jump into the conversation, but it's definitely a valid point. You could make the argument that 2021 could be an accumulation year because there wasn't really big price action. Like the most price action actually happened at the end of 2020, where we went from, like, in the beginning of 2020, from 3,000 to almost 30,000. But in 2021, it was just a little bit up and down, and you could see all these conspiracy theories with Wyckoff accumulation and distribution, and yeah, I don't know, maybe this is going to change in the next few weeks until the end of the year, or maybe we need to wait until next year.
I mean, Elon always says it's the funniest scenario, the funniest scenario, the funniest outcome is the most likely. He always kind of jokes about that. And I really always believe, especially in financial investments, the scenario that everyone is kind of expecting, or the majority is expecting, is the least likely to happen because it is already priced in. So that's also when I, for example, post on Twitter, and sometimes I always feel people see my Twitter posts as bearish when they're actually not. I just want to manage expectations. If everyone is bullish and expects, for example, 100,000 by Christmas, it's just impossible for this really to happen, in my opinion. And the simple reason is because everyone is so bullish already. Everything is priced in. So if everyone is so bullish, then the price of, let's say, 69,000, which was the all-time high, is kind of the bullish scenario. And so that's kind of priced in already. So as soon as a few people actually switch to bearish, the price drops. And that's what we have seen. So right now, my posts on Twitter always state, we need to have a lot more pessimism, a lot more doubt, less hopium, more doubt. And then basically people all start questioning and doubting that we could actually hit 100,000. And once all this happens, then basically all this doubt is already priced in. When people start saying, oh, we're going to go back down to 40, oh, maybe we don't even have a green candle, like an annual candle, maybe we're actually going to dip down to 30,000. Once this kind of fear happens, that's when all the kind of fear and all the doubt is in, then small dips to the other side could immediately raise the price insanely a lot. So I just want to highlight how, and it's not really contrarian, it's really more general investment behavior. And I just really want to kind of point that out a bit because, again, I see two scenarios how we're going to hit our 100,000 until Christmas. Either we have this catalyst that's really going to drive it. The only one that I could still see this year that, in my opinion, I could see coming is the unlikely event of a spot ETF. And again, I still think that's unlikely, even unlikely in 2022, even though it's a bit more likely, but I think it's almost close to impossible in 2021. But that's the only scenario that I saw, that I see. Aside of that, the other scenario is everyone becomes so bearish that and so doubtful that the price, I don't know, goes down into the lower 50s. I don't see it going much lower. So maybe another 10, 15% from where we are right now. So like lower 50s. And then everyone is so bearish and the 100,000 is never going to happen. And then Bitcoin is going to do 100% from there and it's going to hit 100,000. And so that's kind of a bit the scenarios that I see. How do you see this, Fabio? And what do you see in the rest of the community?
Yeah, there's definitely we talked about this, I guess, 2 months ago or so, where with time passing and us coming to the end of the year, the anxiety of certain people start to rise because they had certain expectations of where we should be and what should happen. And there was a big, like, all influencers continuously said, hey, we're going to hit 6 figures until the end of the year. Like, you have Plan B's predictions, you have the bigger influencers, and everybody was looking at this period at the end of the year. And now we're approaching it. We're almost there. I think since a few days we are actually in the longest cycle ever. If we make another high, if we don't make another high, it would not be the longest cycle. But I guess the anxiety will start to rise with every day passing, and the sentiment, I guess, would also be shifting a little bit into a more bearish scenario. I'm super bullish as always, and I think the cycle top will definitely be in 2022, and that we will take a little bit more time to get there. But it's not something that worries me. But as you mentioned a few times, that it's better that we actually have more people feeling a little bit bearish about the sentiment or changing their minds, and it's much needed to move upwards. I can remember a month ago or so, I don't remember exactly, you took some profits at 65,000 and you shared that publicly, and you got lots of negative comments about that, but it was, in retrospect, it was actually a pretty good timing. Who would have thought?
Yeah, but I mean, I also want to point out, I really didn't try to time the market, and I also don't think that in the long term this was a good time to take some profits. It's more, I look at how successful Cake is, how successful like our customers are, how my personal wealth has changed, and then I just always try to kind of take the most risk-averse approach in that. And again, I also want to highlight one thing here, right? And again, now we're shifting a bit from crypto, but I just want to give a bit of a general kind of mindset thing. Going into fiat is not generally like a low-risk approach. Actually, you know that you're going to lose buying power every single year. It's called inflation, right? Some years, the buying power you lose, and I would measure everything in buying power. Don't measure it in dollars. Measure it in buying power. What can you actually buy? And again, that's also very individual. I want to be clear here, right? Some people need to measure that on a different aspect depending on your life circumstances. Some of you are living with your parents, and you have a total different kind of demand for buying power than, I don't know, a family with 4 kids, right? Or someone who's maybe close to retirement. Everything changes here a bit. And so for me, I would not see going, for example, into fiat as a low risk kind of a bet. It's actually a very clear bet, right? And the bet you're making here is that we have a more deflationary scenario. And again, I don't know if that is the most likely scenario. I also don't know if inflation is the most likely scenario over the next 12 months. I just don't know. But no one knows. Everyone can have an opinion, but no one really knows. So I just want to highlight that. And when I, for example, take profits, it's really not so much because I have an opinion on where the price goes. I just have an opinion on what my current financial situation is and how I want to diversify my assets based on that current situation. So I just want to highlight that here. Let me also address something else. I always hear this idea that Bitcoin is so great for inflation. And I want to kind of counter that idea a bit. Not, and this is important, not because I don't think Bitcoin is going to do well over the next years, but because I think it has actually nothing to do with inflation. Now, why do I think that? Very simple. Let's say over the last 1.5 years, massive money printing happened. And let's say you use M2 US dollar supply as inflation. Then, I don't know, whatever metric you believe, we've had about 30% inflation over the last 1.5 years. Some of you is going to say a bit more. Some of you are going to say less. Doesn't matter. Let's say 30% over the last 1.5 years. Now, if that is the return that you just want to have for inflation, great. I mean, you can have that, right? Invest into stocks, invest into commodities. All of them have done slightly better than the 30%. Great. But Bitcoin in the last 1.5 years, with inflation having been 30%, didn't just go up by 30%. It also didn't go up just by 50%. It went, depending on what metric, again, what price you're using. But that was also my kind of trade. I bought Bitcoin, I think, at around $4,000 when the price dipped. And I had taken some profit at a bit over 60,000. That's 15x. So we're talking about 1,500%, right? Versus, I don't know, 30% inflation, 50%, whatever, plus what stocks make. So explain that to me, right? How does this even fit together, the inflation to the actual return? So my counter argument over the next 5 to 10 years is it doesn't matter if we have inflation or deflation. You want to be in crypto. for the very simple reason because the point of extra monetary units in the system in comparison to how many people are going to realize the utility that crypto has. The extra units are nice. They're a little bit on top. I don't know. Maybe we see 20% every year in inflation, which I don't believe. But let's just say, great. Are you going to be happy with 20% Bitcoin returns over the next years every year? Well, you should be because that's fantastic returns. Don't get me wrong. But let's be realistic. Most people want to see 100% or 200% per year in returns on their crypto portfolio. Now, I don't know if that's realistic. I just want to highlight how actually the inflation part is super irrelevant in the total returns that your crypto portfolio makes. Now, of course, it's going to add a little bit of extra returns. But to me, if you actually want to beat inflation, irrelevant of inflation, you don't want to look into gold and you don't want to look into commodities because most of these things are actually just tracking inflation. Most stocks really struggle whether there's inflation, deflation. You just have a really hard time gauging that. The assets that are still underpriced, they're mispriced because price to value is just not there where it is right now. And we can debate value all day long. I can only tell you it's undervalued right now, are a lot of the crypto assets. So to me, whenever I talk to journalists, and at the moment I have probably like every single day, I have like an interview about inflation and what does this mean for Bitcoin? And my answer is always, it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do. I know that most Bitcoin and crypto fans don't want to hear this, but look at the numbers. It's irrelevant. You want to be in Bitcoin and crypto, not because you just want to hedge against inflation. You actually want to be in there because you want to beat inflation. So that is a really, really key point. And obviously, I would hope that you also use Cake and you get cash flow on top of your holdings. But I just want to kind of bring that point up a bit because it always drives me insane when people say, hey, go into crypto to hedge for inflation. No, you don't just want to hedge for inflation. You actually want to beat inflation. And I just still think that crypto, despite its huge volatility, it's still a fantastic investment vehicle to bring buying power into the future. And that's at the end what you're trying to do. What are your comments on that,
Yeah,
Fabio?
maybe to go a step further, because we can only, like, there's one thing we see influencers talking about, things that happen on Telegram and on Twitter, on Reddit. And the other thing is, of course, what we can see internally as a company. And you have Coinbase downloads or you have Bitcoin searches on Google that are not really trending higher. But what we can see as Cake, as a company, is there is clear demand for people that want to hodl, that are not willing to sell at these prices and that are allocating assets for a longer term. We have record numbers in almost every department when it comes to sign up and customer funds and everything. And for me, this is a clear sign that most of the people that are already in the market, and our customers are more a little bit, let's say, advanced crypto people, they're not willing to sell. They're putting their assets in lending, in staking, and they get some nice cash flow on it. So for us, these sideways or a little bit downwards markets are actually pretty good. But I think you made a very good point with your inflation comparison there. For me, it's crypto is this, like, if you compare all other big asset classes like real estate, like commodities, like bonds, you're talking about a 100 trillion plus market in each asset class. And Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies is in the low trillions. I think Bitcoin itself is a little bit slightly above 1 trillion, and the total market is still like single digit trillions. And there is so much room to grow. If you think that cryptocurrencies will be an asset class like bonds or like real estate or something else, and you need to see there's 130 trillion US dollars in bonds that are actually yielding negative. If you compare it to inflation, you get like 1.5 on a 10-year. And you have an inflation in the US, I think they reported around 6%. So you're 400 basis points in the negative. And cryptocurrencies is eating into this market. So it's not actually a straight up inflation hedge. It's more getting on board into a rising upcoming asset class, in my opinion. But of course, if you play your cards right, you're massively going to outperform inflation, or that's at least what everybody tries to do.
Correct. So I think that's like, I just really wanted to point it out because I make comments on that every once in a while on Twitter. And I think people always misunderstand me in believing that just because I think that Bitcoin like is not like an inflation hedge doesn't necessarily mean it's not an insanely amazing investment. I just think the inflation aspect of the entire calculation is negligible in where Bitcoin could go and where Bitcoin should go. And you just need to also put this into perspective. I mean, a volatility of 50% down needs to have at least a volatility of 100% up. Otherwise, you're actually running a negative Sharpie ratio. And so, yeah, you definitely don't want to have that. And so I think that's a key part. Yeah, let's segue a bit, or let's tag on there. How did the entire market perceive El Salvador and kind of taking up a $1 billion loan, which half of that is going to be locked up in Bitcoin for the next 5 years? Part of that loan is going to be settled either in Bitcoin, Tether, or dollars. What was the general market sentiment here? I made a video actually just prior to our talk. On my personal YouTube channel discussing that a bit, putting that a bit into perspective on what this actually means. But I want to hear a bit, what did the general market say? I didn't follow it all too much.
Yeah, you have, of course, this let's say Bitcoin community, especially on Twitter, that absolutely celebrated this event and celebrated this move, because there's a big consensus where everybody feels, let's say, the real Bitcoiners, they're very much for low taxes, capitalism, freedom, and they love this. It got a lot of attention, and everybody's really positive about it. And then you have like a group of people that feels, oh, 0% taxes on everything. So how is this going to be financed, and how is this going to work? And also, it's really hard to understand this concept of they issue this bond together with Liquid and Bitfinex, and it's kind of hard to grasp because it's a first of a kind, and there is where you see lots of different opinions. Some people think this is truly revolutionary, and many others will follow. And others think this is, it's not going to work, or this is crazy. And of course, some of it is, I think, bought with US dollar Tether. So you have the whole Tether conversation flaring up again. But I guess the Bitcoin community itself, they were exceptionally positive. And then you have maybe the little bit more traditional media, or the broader crypto community, where they think, where they're not so sure if this is just a big PR thing. And like, of course, you have Bukele, that is like this charismatic, forward-thinking person, but there is some controversy when it comes to him as well. Some people really love what he's doing. Other people think he's a dictator. So you have the very different opinions on it. But within the Bitcoin community, almost everybody is in favor of this and really loves that development. Yeah.
Why do you think I also belong a bit more into the camp where, I mean, this is a great PR stunt. It's completely a non-event right now. I don't see this as bearish. It may actually, I don't see that bullish. It may actually be bearish if part of that $1 billion to El Salvador is actually being paid in Bitcoin, and then El Salvador has to sell off, I don't know, a couple $100 million and get Tether for that. Could also be that Tether just prints that, who knows? But I don't see it as bearish or bullish. I think it could have some trickle effect if other countries actually come in and also realize that for pretty much like a very low risk, almost actually no cost, because basically it's everyone speculating on Bitcoin going up. They could also get relatively cheap money with pretty much no downside. And again, that could actually have some really strong reputational effects, especially, and I highly doubt like a top like G20 kind of industrial nation would kind of do something like that, but maybe like a, I don't know, mid-tier country that normally, I don't know, pays 4 or 5% to kind of get access to a couple $1 billion. Now suddenly they could get access for like, let's say 4 or 5%, maybe even 6%, 6.5% like El Salvador. But they're like, screw that, I don't need to pay it back. I mean, either Bitcoin covers for everything, or I just default on it. Who cares? Then Tether, Blockstream, and Bitfinex don't ever want to do business with me. Who cares? I still have the IMF. That's a bit of my kind of sentiment and all that. But I think for Bitcoin, it's putting it into the press. It's kind of talking about it. The market didn't react at all. I mean, the price went down slightly since then, but I think that's not really correlated. why do you think the price didn't react? Wouldn't you expect that if this was like a huge thing, like the Bitcoin community celebrates it for, the price would have, I don't know, gone up? Why did the price not move?
I guess most people don't understand it yet, and it's also not a sure thing. We don't actually know if this is working. What he's practically doing is he's taking the IMF out of the equation, because if this system, as he figured it out, or I think Max Kaiser came initially up with the idea of this volcano Bitcoin bond, if this is actually working, he is taking out the IMF out of the equation. So he practically makes it that he can get bonds out of the system. So and this is a prototype. Nobody actually knows if this is a good idea and if it's working in the long run, and it's entirely dependent on Bitcoin moving upwards. But if this gets some traction, like if we have an upward movement in price, and this is actually working, I guess it's a really groundbreaking idea. But it's almost a little bit too early, I guess. Like people don't completely grasp what this could be.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I think that's I think that could be a good approach. Let's see. I think $1 billion is a good starting point. I think also for the companies that are involved. I think, again, even if it doesn't work out and maybe El Salvador defaults on most of it, or it doesn't even turn out, I think it's helpful. I mean, again, I think as a long term, I think it is a net positive. I highly doubt that it's a net negative, to be honest, for the entire crypto community. Yeah. One thing we didn't like put down as a discussion note up front, but maybe I want to throw in. Did you follow the Constitution DAO? And yeah, this entire kind of thing that went down last week about I think it was like $40 million that got raised in this DAO. And then they wanted to buy a copy of one of those 13 copies of the US Constitution. Then they got front run. Yeah. Did you follow that a bit?
Yes. There were some great memes and some great interviews coming out of that. There is this one meme where like a parent comes into a room and this kid sits at a computer and says, what are you up to, kid? And I say, I'm buying the Constitution with a few of my crypto friends. And it's pretty crazy, actually, that like this is, let's call them the new rich, or like people that made a lot of money and maybe are not entirely sure how to allocate it. But it's especially within the early adapters, cyberpunks, Bitcoiners, the Constitution, of course, has lots of value. Like there is lots of comparison where people say the Bitcoin white paper is practically the Constitution, or this is like the rules that we all agree on. And it's a crazy thing that a small group of people that came to money within the last 5-6 years are buying a copy. I think there's only 13 copies of this thing out there.
I think so. Yeah.
So
yeah,
exciting.
and maybe to put some even to me the real meme narrative of all that. So for those of you that haven't followed that, so there's a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, which is basically like a smart contract that collects ETH, and so people could contribute. There was like an insane discussion. Obviously, a lot of the Ethereum kind of hating protocols, Ethereum kind of competitors kind of criticized how much gas was actually burned to collect those slightly over $40 million US, and it got collected by I think thousands of people participated in all that, and the crazy thing is, so they wanted to auction a copy of the Constitution, and then Ken Griffin of all of them, which is the CEO of Citadel. So maybe just a quick story here. Citadel was like really hefty in the media, and he was really hefty in the media for all the front running and order flow that basically came from Robinhood with Wall Street bets at the beginning of the entire year 2021. And so he was highly criticized for that. And so he like for front running, right? And so here, the crazy thing on this, everyone could see how much Constitution DAO had actually in capital, and so for how much they could actually bid, right? And so Ken Griffin, he just basically at the end just made a slightly higher bid and basically front ran the entire DAO. So the crazy thing of all that, right? So him, who always got criticized for like front running and doing some illegal stuff, and again, I think it's still very questionable how much this entire kind of order flow, kind of money making, how legal that is or how ethical that is, and so on. This is still like very much up in the air, but he has denied any wrongdoings during this entire Wall Street slash Robin Hood kind of thing. And here, I mean, completely legal. He front runs an entire crypto community. So I think if there is one person that's like enemy number one right now in all this Wall Street bets, crypto kind of sentiment, it's definitely him. To me, right, the very interesting part in all of that is actually who was the person who was making the kind of the bets, right? Or who was the person who was kind of voting on or the bidding, right? Who was doing the bidding, and then who would have actually picked up the Constitution? And so, to me, and I had this entire interview, I think last year during a webinar, and it was actually more of a panel discussion, and I had someone on that panel who discussed how that person was setting up a DAO and was setting everything up. And I was like, look, if you're setting up this DAO, it's actually not a DAO, right? It's not decentralized. You're doing it, right? So you will always have this central point of attack. And in this case, it was also really interesting to see a bit. And again, it's going to be, I think a lot of the, I think a lot of people are looking for a next kind of shiny object in the crypto space that could really kind of propel the market forward. And yeah, I think DeFi is seeing a strong renaissance in all of that a bit. NFTs going really well, but I think people are really looking for more kind of vehicles and DAOs who had a very notorious start in 2015. And then 2016, when the DAO had the issue there back then in Ethereum, which basically forked Ethereum, is kind of trying to get a bit of a renaissance here. I just want to bring that point up. Is there anything to add here? Anything to point out?
I guess you summed it up quite nicely, and maybe we see DAOs in particular giving a comeback, and I certainly think it would be a great thing to see where this could go, because there is, I guess, so much opportunity for real DAOs to come in, maybe to even compete a little bit with, I don't know, bigger companies, institutions, foundations, or even governments in the long run. But yeah, that may be a topic for another spaces where we have a little bit more time.
Totally. Yeah, let's shift over a bit. Product timeline. Obviously, the big thing that's happening over the next couple of days, next 10 to 14 days, decentralized tokens, decentralized stocks, decentralized commodities, decentralized precious metals. What do you want to share from a timeline perspective, from product perspective? What should people expect? What should they watch out for? I know that from the content side, there will be a lot of instructional pieces, again, kind of summarized and explaining how all this works, how you can use it, what is kind of the workflow, but what are the questions you're seeing in the community on Telegram, Reddit, and so on? What are the key things that you feel we need to share and questions we need to address?
Yeah, it's timeline. What we all of our moderators and team internally, we were always just communicating end of November. And there is a reason for that, because it's so hard to give a specific day and a specific ETA for such a big launch. And there are so many variables. But we're approaching end of November. End of November is next week. And Daniel and Lord Mark, they shared on DeFi Chain News on their YouTube, they shared that I think it's November the 29th, where stock tokens will go live on the DeFi chain side. So on Cake side, we always communicated it will be almost a simultaneous launch. Maybe you can elaborate on certain risks and certain things with a simultaneous launch there as well, because I saw there was a big discussion on that, how we could do that as a little bit more centralized entity offering this decentralized product.
So DeFi Chain has announced that they're gonna go live on the a light wallet and making it user friendly for everyone. So, I mean, you can do it already, but you have to use the command line. So for, let's say, the average person, the light wallet and everything should be ready on the 29th. On Cake's side, we initially also wanted to go live on the 29th. However, on Cake's side, you cannot create those decentralized tokens. You can only buy them and liquidity mine them. So the issue we just saw, if we go live at the same time, we suddenly have over 100,000 users who would suddenly jump in there, and basically all they're doing is buying decentralized tokens and liquidity mining them. Now, there's no rewards yet, right? So like there's no rewards. However, it could really skew the supply and demand side between like those people creating and those people buying. So we said, give DeFi chain about 48 hours until like people on Cake can actually buy these decentralized tokens and then put them into liquidity mining. Now, the important thing on this, users on Cake are not missing out on anything because rewards are actually starting a week afterwards. I think it's, what is the exact date? I think the 6th, right? December 6th, yeah. So December 6th. So if we start, let's say 48 hours later, then all the users on DeFi chain, so that would put it on December 1st, then everyone on Cake has 5 days to get ready. And at the same time, it gives everyone on DeFi chain 2 days to actually create enough supply. Because otherwise, we just are a bit worried that the DEX fees that get totally imbalanced and people actually pay complete irrational prices for those tokens because the liquidity is not there yet if we do this simultaneously, right? And so and we just expect that users on Cake, they want to have a very seamless experience, and they don't want to have to look and watch what is the price, how much is the price off. They want to be able to rely on that prices are pretty much rational. And again, it may actually be that we only launch maybe on the 2nd or the 3rd. If on the 1st there's not enough liquidity, that when suddenly there's like a bunch of users coming in, it would skew the prices by too much. Again, these users are not missing out on anything. We're definitely going to have enough time before the 6th that we launch. But you need to understand, from us as a company standpoint, it is our responsibility that when we offer a service, that we don't go out there and provide a service where we can highly kind of expect that the user is actually going to get a worse kind of price than if we didn't offer that service. So we just have to be super careful in just going out and offer a service where we feel the underlying is not stable or is not safe. Now, that doesn't mean that that we are like trying to investigate everything left and right and only list things where we have done 1,000,000% due diligence and we can take the responsibility for that. Doesn't mean that at all. But it also means if we are not like relatively confident that that the user is going to get a seamless experience, then to me as a CEO, it's just a responsibility not to list that service until we're confident that it works. So I just want to explain that decision of delaying the launch of decentralized tokens on Cake versus DeFi chain. Now, one thing we definitely don't want, we don't want our users to have a downside in not having access to the liquidity mining rewards in comparison to everyone else who's doing it natively on the blockchain. So we definitely, so for us, we definitely want to launch with before December the 6th. It's probably not going to happen on December the 6th because that would be too little time. The plan right now is to give DeFi chain about 48 to 72 hours. So let's say December 1st is kind of a realistic target, gives everyone 5 days until the rewards hit in, gives everyone enough time on DeFi chain natively to prepare supply. And then it should be a kind of a seamless process in that.
Yeah, and you definitely can already feel there is lots of FOMO. So people are patient or impatiently waiting for this feature to go live. And I guess the most asked questions when I monitor the Cake DeFi Twitter or our Telegram groups is when is the ETA, when is the launch? And I guess with every day passing, we're going to be more specific about the exact date and the exact specifics and everything, because we were really a little bit open with that. But as time passes, the window narrows down. So we always said end of November, and it's going to be end of November next week. Yeah, as Daniel and Lord Mark said, and on the DeFi chain side, they were pretty clear. It's 29th of November, so I think this is Monday. And then, as you just mentioned, it's going to be probably 48 hours later that we can offer the same on Cake side. And it's not that we are not ready on a technical side. It's purely that there is some game theory to it where you just don't want things to completely escalate. And it's always a struggle to find some solid middle ground. And I guess with our approach, nobody's actually missing out. And that's the most important thing, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I also want to differentiate the two very clearly. One is a decentralized protocol where I'm not responsible for like people losing funds on there or people experimenting or people trying out certain things. But then the other one is a company that provides a service to customers. And I clearly benefit from people being happy with our service. So obviously, for me as a CEO, I have a very clear target of making our customers happy. Now, I get that our customers want to have early access to a service, but if that means that maybe that service is not fully ready or there's some kind of risk that the customer may have and not a good price discovery on the DEX, to me, as a CEO, it's a very easy decision. I need to delay that and just say, look, if you want to test this all yourself and you want to take the full responsibility for that, go out there, use the Light Wallet natively. And just like you can go out and store your coins natively, go out there, liquidity mine yourself, stake yourself, you can do all these things yourself. If you do it at Cake, I do feel certain responsibilities in making that service as seamless and as easy and as good as possible. And so I just also want to clearly differentiate that, where I do see responsibilities as a CEO of a company and where I don't see any responsibilities as an investor or as a main cheerleader of a decentralized protocol. So I really want to clearly kind of differentiate those two also. It's the same as right now when people are using DeFi chain on the command line. I mean, that's up to everyone. I mean, everyone should do it and can do it. But if I don't know, if something goes wrong there, I don't take any responsibility, and I'm not a customer service. There is no customer service for DeFi chain. So just like there's no customer service for Bitcoin or Ethereum and so on, that doesn't mean I want to help people and I want to like give my best to make sure that people make a lot of money. But I just really also want to put that into perspective. So again, DeFi chain goes live with stocks on the 29th. Cake will go live as soon as we feel that there's enough liquidity for our users to actually buy and liquidity mine with those tokens. And again, there's no rewards in the first week anyways. They will only come in on December 6th. So internal plans right now is to go live on Cake on the December 1st. Again, if we see that there's no liquidity or there's not enough liquidity, we're going to wait for December 2nd, December 3rd. Again, and if a user has an issue with that, as much as I would love to have them as a user on Cake, I would just say, look, fair, download the Light Wallet, do it yourself, do it on DeFi chain and take the risk yourself. And really kind of play around with it. It's a very simple answer. So yeah, I cannot give you the exact day yet on the launch side on Cake. Right now, the plan is December 1st, but it may be December 2nd, it may be December 3rd. It's definitely going to happen before December 6th, because I definitely don't want customers to have a downside in not having access to the rewards that I just think, and I just want to highlight that at the beginning could easily be in the tens of thousands of percent. I'm not kidding. Could be tens of thousands of percent. And so I definitely don't want our customers to miss out on that. So yeah, that's a bit of the timeline and kind of expectation here.
There are actually a few more timelines earlier than that, because this week is actually super busy. We have 26th of November. This is International Cake Day. Of course, we are going to celebrate that. And it is also Black Friday. And then we have, I think, Monday, November 29th is Cyber Monday. So we're also going to celebrate that. And then there is the DeFi chain voting that is going on since last night, midnight, UTC. And of course, we also give our Cake customers the opportunity to participate there under certain conditions. So you need to have a full masternode, within our freezer. And we already reached out to you if you want to participate in this voting cycle. It's a kind of a big thing. I guess it's 500,000 DFI, so 1.5 million USD that are requested in 23 different community proposals and 2 DeFi chain improvement proposals. So there's lots of going on, lots to dig in, and big decisions to be made. You can follow along. I think there's lots of Telegram groups, and of course on the DeFi chain Reddit, most of the conversation is happening, and of course on GitHub if you want to follow along. Of course, join our Telegram groups to really get first hand information. And I don't know, I'm not sure what I can share about our Cake Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing.
Let's not share about the details of the promotion. Let's just let's split the two kind of things. First was more of a watch out for those days, and so those days are Black Friday this Friday. That was Thursday, right? No, wait, when was Cake Day this Friday?
November 26th, yeah.
Yeah, this Friday's Cake Day. It's also it's also Black Friday, so watch out for that. And then next Monday, on the one hand, DeFi chain should have their decentralized stocks and stuff going ready for everyone in the wallet. But at the same time, on Cake side, we are celebrating Cyber Monday. Are there any other kind of celebratory or key kind of community days other than, let's leave the voting aside for now, let's track that, and without going into the details of the promotions, watch those days because you're going to have insanely exciting promotions. I can assure that to you. I can assure you a lot of our marketing budget for the entire Q4 actually is going to get blown out over this over this next week.
Yeah, 100%. Let's focus on these days first. We have a little bit more planned for December. There's still a little bit of uncertainty of how many different promotions that we have lined up for the later part of December. But we have these 3 days coming end of this week, beginning of next week. So it's definitely a super busy and super exciting period for us, and I guess also for our customers, because there's just so much happening.
Cool. Okay. That's exciting. And then let's talk about the voting again. I really want to encourage everyone, right, who has a full masternode frozen on Cake or who has masternodes in general outside of Cake to vote. And the key thing on this is I definitely think there are certain proposals that should absolutely get rejected. I think they're money grabs. I think they deliver zero value. It doesn't matter how expensive or how cheap they are. Something that delivers no value and even costs a single DFI is too expensive. And then I think there are other proposals that are delivering a lot of value and that I think should definitely get approved. And so if you are voting, please, please, please actually look into the proposals. If you're not sure about a proposal, rather not vote. Instead of going out and just approving everything just because you think approving stuff is going to support it. Be aware. I think also looking back over the past proposals, I think there are some proposals of people who are either abandoning the project, who are not doing what they said they're doing. And I think, again, going over longer periods of time, we need to, on the one hand, keep proposals accountable and also just become a bit stricter with what we're approving. And that doesn't mean that I'm against approving. I'm actually total pro, and I hope we see more and more of those really valuable proposals. And yeah, so that is a bit of my kind of general kind of sentiment there. I haven't decided if I'm actually gonna vote for the very simple reason. I know that's really a bit kind of counter to what I'm saying. I just always feel if I vote on something, then it's gonna cause some either friction or it's going to cause extra positive attention. And I just don't think that should happen. So I haven't decided yet. I need to see what's the best way or what's an idea. Either I can also vote anonymously, but I'm not sure if that is the, I don't know. I think that's chickening out on some things. So let's see what I'm going to do there. Yeah, and also, I mean, if you look in the blockchain, there's now quite a lot of masternodes. A lot of masternodes and DeFi chain are frozen. So very, very, very kind of strong sentiment in the community on that. So yeah, what do people need to do? So on DeFi chain, you need to sign and do all these things yourself. Look at GitHub. What happens on Cake?
Yeah, the voting process is actually pretty straightforward. If you're struggling with this, feel free to join our Telegram groups and just ask, hey, what do I need to do and how does this work? And one of our moderators or an employee or somebody from the community will point you to the right places. On the Cake side, because we are a centralized entity, we have a database, so we check who is eligible to vote. And as soon as we know, the condition is you need to have a full masternode frozen. The period, the duration, how long it must be frozen doesn't really matter. Also, the amount of entries. So if you have like 100 entries with smaller amounts, and the sum of the total sum is more than 20,000 DFI, you're eligible to vote. So last week, I think on the 17th of November, we reached out to all customers and asked, hey, are you interested in voting? Are you interested in participating? And send out all links that they need to know, like the link to Reddit, the link to GitHub, where all of these proposals are listed, a small example on how this is going to work, because it's not super straightforward, because we for every user that is eligible to vote on Cake, in the end, he will receive a signature. So an individual masternode signature for his masternode that he actually has with us at Cake, but he gets a yes, a no, and a neutral for every proposal. So right now we have 23 proposals. So in total, I think it's 25 if you include the DeFi. So he gets, if you have one masternode, you get, 75 signatures, but you're only going to use 25 of them because you are either yes, no, or neutral. And on the Cake side, we need a little bit longer to actually fulfill our promise. Because it's lots of manual work involved. And how do I know that? Because I have most of the work on my table. So what is happening today is currently we're running a script to match the user ID with the signature. And then there is lots of data, really like a crazy amount. And then we need to figure out what belongs to who. And then we're going to send out individual emails to all customers over the coming 36 hours. And then they have their signatures and they have 4 or 5 days left to place them on GitHub to place their votes. This is a little bit the short version of how this is working on the Cake side. Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Yeah, and I just got a question, which proposal should someone approve and which proposal should someone reject? Look, it's really not up, like, it should definitely not be me who is influencing your decision. That should really be your own kind of value perception, right? I just really want to kind of call out that some of the proposals we funded in the past are delivering extremely well. Some of the proposals we funded in the past are either like abandoning or are just completely ghosting the community. And I think there should be a lesson. I think that doesn't mean that we should never take risks. I mean, at the end, you're funding startups, and it's normal that a lot of startups fail. So you will always only have a certain fraction of startups that actually succeed. So just be sure that when you fund these proposals, that you need to expect that they're actually failing. Like, I think it's wrong if you actually fund a startup, and most of those projects are startups, and you're expecting that they are succeeding, then you're actually not a good investor. And if you actually go into this and think, yeah, it's not my money though. I mean, it's a community development fund that pays for that, sure. But I mean, at the end, that's still new liquidity that's going to get sold, that people are using to fund. And at the end, that's going to put pressure on the price. So understand that, right? It's not going to be a massive pressure. And I think there's like, if people are unhappy with the project as a whole, I think there would be more selling pressure, sure. But just kind of keep that in mind. And so like, you should invest 5, 10, 20 minutes, read through the project, understand them, do your due diligence, and then understand that very likely these projects are not going to make it. If a project makes it, that's fantastic, and just kind of approach it that way. And that's how I would approach it. That's how I approach all my startup investments, and I treat those the same way. So yeah, that's kind of the main comment here. yeah, we're getting to the full hour. Anything, Fabio, we else want to share other than, hey, we're really looking for a lot of team members. We've been filling a lot of roles actually over the last week. The hiring team has done an insane job. But look, we always have open job roles. Go to cakedefi.com/jobs. Also, if you're not using Cake yet, what are you waiting for? Get cash flow on your crypto. Get ready. Prepare for liquidity mining with stocks, commodities, precious metals, and so on. Are there any other things we need to mention? We need to discuss?
One thing I'd like
Yeah.
to add is, as Julian mentioned, if you're not a Cake customer yet, we have actually a pretty insane promotion going on, and this is until this Thursday. So you have 2 or 3 days left, and we call this the 11/11 promotion. And I'm gonna spoiler, or I'm gonna give one little leak. So if you sign up before Thursday, you can actually participate in several promotions, because the day afterwards we will have Black Friday, and if you're already a customer, you will be able to take advantage of our Black Friday promotion or Cake Day promotion. So probably the best thing to do is go to cakedefi.com right now, sign up, do your account verification, get the 11/11 promotion bonus. So this is, we are going to add 11% on your first deposit up until $1,000 US. It's a pretty good deal. And after you receive that one, a day later, we offer you the next promotion. So it's probably the best time to sign up to Cake ever.
Really cool. Yeah. So if not now, then when? Let's get going. Cool. With this, everyone, I appreciate your time. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for taking an interest in us. Yeah, follow us on Twitter if you're not doing so. Follow us on YouTube. And obviously, if you're listening this on the recording, then please subscribe to the podcast so you are notified whenever we discuss Cake, general market, and all the other good things in life. Stay safe, stay healthy. All the best to you, family, loved ones, friends, especially during times like these. Stay cool in the markets. I think that's also important. Don't fret too much. It's never as dire as it seems. It's never as amazing as it seems. It's always mostly somewhere in the middle. And yeah, with that, all the best. Talk to you next week. Yours, Julian, Fabio, the rest of the Cake team.